We just I just finally bought a polar bear yesterday, and I really only bought it just to piss Al Gore off. It's right behind Pat now in the studio. If you're watching on GBTV,
it's the last polar bear on the planet, and you have just killed it with your SUV.
This one was not taken down by a gun or anything else. I actually trapped it in a garage and turned my SUV on.
That's how they're being killed and slaughtered by the thousands. SUVs.
And he didn't suffocate. That's not what happened. There was plenty of oxygen in there. It just warmed. It was garage warming, and it just warmed the garage so much that he eventually burst into flame.
And you knew this was the last one, too.
This is the last one.
You knew that you were making this species extinct.
Yeah.
By
Isn't
this
that
action.
an amazing animal? Anyway, I'm talking about the polar bear because yesterday we got the polar bear. Do you know that we haven't completed the deal on this polar bear yet? Because polar bears have to have been killed prior to, I think, 1971. The paperwork on it was a little shaky because you're like, okay, well, no, it was really old and it was in this museum, and so they didn't have the paperwork from then, and blah blah blah. I had an employee yesterday spend his day talking to the state game and wildlife department, trying to make sure we have everything on the up and up before I sign the papers on this polar bear.
The polar bear has to have been killed before 1971?
Yeah.
So this is a polar bear that's over 40 years old?
Oh, yeah. Look at see how yellow it looks
yeah,
behind
I noticed
you?
that today.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's because it's old. Many of the polar bears, nobody has a new polar bear. You don't have new polar bears.
Polar bears are still dying. You can't stuff one now?
Nope.
Why?
I don't know.
You can eat them.
If you're an Inuit Indian,
yeah,
you can do that.
But I couldn't go, and I could go to their house and eat it.
Mm-hmm.
They can shoot it, but I couldn't.
Right.
But they could shoot it. I could eat it if they served it, but I couldn't say, "Hey, can I have the skin? Can I stuff that?" Nope.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is what they do. I mean, the Kyoto Protocol was this big thing that they wanted to do with all the emissions and cut the emissions to save polar bears. Even by their own numbers, it would save something like 0.06 polar bears. 800 times that amount get killed by hunting every year because they're still hunted by the locals. I mean, it's
a ridiculous
absurd
thing. The only reason why I'm bringing the polar bear up is look at the time. You know what my biggest threat to my business is? And we are a good business. We take care of our employees. We give them good health care. We pay them well. We treat them well. They treat us well. We're partners. Our staff, we're partners with them. People like working here. We give them health care that is not even if nobody gives health care like we're giving health care. And we're looking at ways to be innovative to be able to give better health care than we already do. So don't even talk to me about it. You know my biggest threat is? The United States government.
And polar bears.
Well, that one, I put it behind you.
How many employees have been eaten by polar bears?
He's actually asleep right now. He's in sleepy sleep. We have him cryogenically frozen. He's going to wake up and maul Pat to death.
And that's actually a small one, right? That's
10 feet.
That's not a full-grown polar bear.
That's a 10-foot polar bear. We saw one that was... 12 feet tall? It was awesome, but they're so expensive. The Cross-Eyed Moose here in Fort Worth is this great store, and it's down in Fort Worth in the old stockyards, and they have all these great things that are just old and just unbelievable. Really, really old stuff that these guys go out and they just collect. They just kind of ferret, and they're like, oh, that's really cool. And so they had this saddle that was, the Texas champion horse rider from, I don't even know, 1950s. And that saddle is sitting there. There's just these old, really cool things. Well, stuffed in the corner was this polar bear. And Brad, who works on the show, went in and said, my boss has been looking for a polar bear forever. How much is that? And he said, well, who's your boss? He said, Glenn Beck. He said, are you kidding me?
It's triple.
He's like, I love Glenn Beck. I love Glenn Beck. And so we worked a good deal. with him because he's a big, huge fan. And what are you going to do with a big polar bear?
Yeah, there's probably not a huge market for it.
No, not a huge market at all. But they're great people. They're just great, rock solid people. And we were sitting there talking the other day, and they're like, we're trying to keep our doors open. It's impossible to do business with this federal government.
Well, when you're killing polar bears, I'm not sure you deserve to
they're not killing polar bears.
I mean,
that's
polar
not
bears.
No.
Do you know what kind of life they're leading?
What?
That's
A tragedy is unfolding in the world today.
in the world.
Climate change is threatening one of the most magnificent wild animals
No, it's not.
on the
Anteaters,
planet.
right? Anteaters.
5 times the population.
Polar bears.
Oh,
They're struggling to
polar bears.
survive.
That's right. See,
They're not struggling.
Struggling.
They're 5
ice
times
is
as many
melting
as there
all
were in
around them.
1970.
No.
1972.
And food is becoming harder to find
Harder to
as
find
they
food.
lose their hunting grounds.
Losing
No, they're
hunting
not
ground.
losing their hunting ground.
It's only the largest in habitat of any
or
animal
any
on
animal.
the planet.
The
That's all it
largest
is.
one of the
But
planet
it's
on the
really,
planet.
They're losing it, though. It's
Climate change.
climate change.
It's happening right
No,
now.
it's not.
Right now.
And it's leaving mothers weaker and
Mothers are
unable to
weaker.
provide for their young.
Can't provide
What do you
for the
think?
young.
I would like
And
to take.
cubs
I would like
dying.
Cubs drowning.
Without
to. No, stop it. Stop it.
As the struggle and search for
I want you to do what I do with my kids every night. Have you ever seen me give my kids hugs and send them off to bed?
Yes, with the polar bear thing.
Yeah, I give them a hug. I give them a bear hug.
It's creepy.
Really? I give them a bear hug every night. I did this. I started doing this as kids when they were really, really little, and I did it for global warming reasons because I'm tired of hearing everybody try to make the polar bear into a soft, cuddly
Cute,
animal.
cuddly.
And so I say to my kids every night, bear hug. And they give me a bear hug. And I said, every night, who eats baby seals? and they say, polar bears? Ah! And I tickle them as a polar bear every single night. If you have kids, do that every night. Who eats? Give me a bear hug. They give you a bear hug. And then you whisper in their ears, they're hugging you. Who eats baby seals? And they say, polar bears? It's great. I am doing my part to reverse the nonsense.
And they say we don't believe in science. I mean, that's
But
science.
that is science.
That's the
Who
food
eats?
chain.
What are they saying? They're losing their hunting grounds.
Right.
What do they eat? Baby seals.
Baby seals.
And they can't have it both ways. They can't say the polar bear is great and we got to stop the slaughter of baby seals. Excuse me. Who eats baby seals? Polar bears. I'd like to start that as a national tradition. I want you to do that every night with your kids. I don't care if your kids are 40. I want you to you just call them up. Son, yes? Who eats baby seals? Dad, is that you? Answer the question. Who eats baby seals?
Sharks?
No. Polar bears? Oh. Good night, son. Click.
Dad, it's 4 p.m. Why?
Honey, I think Dad needs to go to the home. There's something.
It's time.
No, don't send me to the home. I'm just listening to Glenn Beck. Here's our sponsor.
How many people have we caused to be sent to the home with repeating
With
things
a polar
you've said?
bear? Yeah.
That's happened.
Come here, nurse. Let me give you a bear hug.
No, I swear, nurse, George Soros is evil. Let's just go. Let's go, buddy.